EHAS Club presents Stories to Create podcast, where the tale of our guest takes you back, way back to where the story first got created. Now, to help create this new story, here is your host, Cornell Bunting.
Yes. Welcome to another episode of Stories to Create podcast right here in EHAS Club. I'm excited because you are about to hear some answers from an author. And this if this has been sent to me like a while ago, I just didn't know when I would do it. It's like questions to an author. And I guess, because I'm an author, I guess that makes me qualified, yeah? So what we gonna do, I'm gonna try to answer these questions as best as possible and as honest as possible. I try to be as honest as I can for the most part. So the first question is, at what point did you decide to be an author, and what was your path to publication? Okay, so that's like two questions in there, so at what point did I decide I wanted to be an author? It's crazy because when I became an author, or when I decided I wanted to become an author, I was in a situation. I was in a dark place. I was in jail. I was sitting in jail, and it's like I was asking myself questions. I'm like, okay, when I get out of jail, not if, but when I get out of jail, do I want to fight with the system to try to get some of my money back that I've lost? Or do I try to pursue something that's going to help me to walk in my purpose? And so with that, I said, you know what? I was blessed with a gift. I used to write in high school, and so I could use that. And see what the world think of my writing skills. I feel, sometimes I write with humor. I try to be a little funny as well in some of my pieces that I write. And so in jail, I decided to become an author. And then my path to publication, that was very challenging, because when my first book I decided I was going to put out was Lion with No Roar. And when I first decided I was going to put that out, I still had 16 felony charges sitting on my name. So when you pull up my name, you would see like all these criminal charges come up. So no one cared to vibe with me. It was like just one of those things. And I'm like, okay, what does that look like? And I said, I'm going to just fight through it. And so, at the time, I had got a job with Applebee's, and I was working at Applebee's as a server. I'm telling you, because this is good. This gets good. Because I had child support, and I needed to clear my child support. I go to the courthouse, and the judge says, if you don't pay your child support, I'm going to take your license. And somewhere in there, she said she was going to arrest me again. I'm like, a bunch of stuff she was saying didn't make sense, but I'm like, okay. So, but I got a job as a server. I was making tip money that I could pay off my child support. So I did that. And a self-help opportunity, or a self-published opportunity, came with Author House. And I went with them to put out the book. I don't never want to bash a publishing company on how terrible they was or whatever that was, because of the experience I had with them. Because if it wasn't that start, then, a lot of, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now, So despite the challenges that I went through, my path to publication was talking with a team of people at Author House, they like the book. They say, let's help you get it out. So, they got it out, and we got the book. We got the book published. Yes, and then a whole lot of other stuff happened after that. But those are the answers to that question. So next question is, what do you do when a new idea jumps out at you while you're still working on a book? So I've had that happen to me a few times. And what I do, I grab my phone and I would just do like a recording in my phone of that idea. Or I would write it in my notepad that's on my phone, and that would be how I deal with what that new idea is. And then whenever I would take some time and I would go to like Night Beach or whatever, then I would put that on paper. Do you chase the sequels? Or do you finish your current project first? So, because I do have projects that I haven't even completed yet, but I've started them. Some I've gotten to the middle, and I'm on another project. And so there's some projects that I got done, and then there's projects that I follow up on projects and stuff like that. And then, of course, definitely, sequel to stories that I've written, because I do have a few books they have follow-ups. I think I have, in the children's category of books that I've written, I have 3 children's books that they do have follow-ups to them, and then for the adult books, I want to say I have maybe 4 books that are follow-up stories. Like, because the story is so big, you can't put it in one book. And, like this novel that I'm getting ready to put out, in total, the story is over 300,000 words. So we broke it down, 100,000 per book. So that's what the next book that's coming out is going to look like. Who is your favorite character to write? Ooh, my favorite character to write, it's definitely Cornlegus. It's definitely Cornlegus. I mean, I do have, other characters, but yeah, I think right now it's Cornlegus. You guys haven't even met him yet, but I'm telling you, I'm having fun with that sequel. So, once that drop, you guys will understand why. And then describe your writing process. Do you outline, plot, and plan, or is your writing more organic? So, I would consider myself somewhat diverse, because I do have a lot of organic writing that I do, and then there's books that I have that I've done an outline and what that outline look like. And then there's book that I have like a whiteboard that I've draw up what the plot's gonna be. And if I want to, carry out that plot, or I want to intersect that plot. So that's kind of how I do quite a bit of the books. But there's some of the books that I do an outline of like what the journey is going to be like in this story, like what the chapters will be, and then I can build on those chapters. So that's kind of how I do that. What are some books or author that you'd recommend to readers? So I got to tell you guys, so my first book that really kind of helped me to put things in a perspective was Rick Warren book. It was like a devotional book. A Purpose-Driven Life. I think that's what it was called, A Purpose-Driven Life. Yeah. There's some books. There's quite a bit of books. I mean, of course, which author would recommend other authors' book and don't recommend his own books, right? So, I would definitely recommend a lot of readers to go and read Escape from the Darkness book, Using Adversity to Find Purpose. That's a really good self-help book. I got to tell you, I've had individuals that have talked about all the transformation that after reading that book, have, put them in that path. So, I do have a list of authors that, that run in my circle. Like I like their work, and I've shared a lot of their work, like Gillian McAllister. I like him. He got that book called Wrong Place, Wrong Time. Jenny Han, she has a good book, The Summer I Turned Pretty. I know. It's a girl's book, but hey, you gotta run with a lot of the individuals that are doing better than you, that you want to eventually do better than. So, yeah, I mean, I there's a few, I got G.T. Cobb. He has that Model of Volume 1, which is pretty dope. 100 Tattoos, that's pretty dope as well. That's pretty dope coloring book for adults. Because sometimes you got to get creative. And who can leave out J.K., right? J.K. Rowling. I love her because of where she was and the struggle she was, going through to get to where she is now. She's, I would say, between her and I can't even think of that guy that does all Stephen King. I mean, they're on top of the book world. They're doing it. Their book has become, movies, top movies. And so I think that for a lot of authors, that's the ultimate goal. Well, some authors, because you want to get as much readers to read your book, but also you want it to get on the big screen. That's a beautiful thing right there. So, okay, let's get back on track here. So, tell us what you enjoy most about writing. For me, what I enjoy about writing is how I can create a character, and I can make anything happen to that character. I can put that character in any type of situation I want to, whether it's just an amazing life or it could be a disruptive life where that character have a lot of challenges. I tend to want to be real with my readers. So, I love to, even when I'm writing a fiction story, like to put that character in realistic scenarios, and so I think for me that's like one of the beauty on writing a story. Like when I create a character, what I want to do with him or her, whether I want to give them family, whatever that looks like. So, that's, yeah. And I think because nonfiction is more painful, because you are, you're being vulnerable, you're sharing information that a lot of people wouldn't want to share, but because you want to help people heal, then that's okay. And so, but I think I have more fun with the fiction stories, like, what that look like, what that entail, and how creative I can get to make it interesting to say, okay, do I keep this character or do I get rid of this character before I end this story, So, yeah. What have you found to be most challenging about writing? I think for me, the challenges come in the plots. Like like how I plot a story and what's more satisfying to me, because like I think back on when I watch certain movies and I get irritated with whoever wrote that story because whatever they're doing to the character that I really like in the story, and like what direction would I take this character to be as pleasing to the eye, and so for me it's the plot. Plot is a challenge because you wanna get right. You wanna make sure you're dropping the right scenes and all that good stuff in there. So, have you been able to incorporate your previous experience in your jobs, education, in your writing? Oh yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. You guys got to go out there and tap into some of the books that I've already written. I've written 8 books, so on the adult side we have Escaping a Life Sentence, Escaping the Darkness, Bunt Walk, The Bellman, a drug dealer assistant. And then on the kids side we have Lion with No Roar, Leslie Plover, Nostril Adventure, and Petey Light the Drip Drop. So the answer to that is one of those books. I won't put it all the way out there. Do you identify with your main character, or did you create a character that is your opposite? So yeah, I mean, there's stories that I've written where the character kind of portray who I am, and the challenges I'm going through and what that looks like. So most definitely. Yeah. And then I have created characters that's totally the opposite, but I just felt is really necessary. So yeah. Describe one of your book in 10 words or less for people who are just learning about your book. So let's say we pick Escaping Darkness, Using Adversity to Find Purpose, because it's a self-help book. In 10 words or less. 10 words. Okay, so go with me. Let me see if we can do this in 10 words or less. This book helps you. Let me see here. This book helps you to use your adversity to find purpose. Ooh, that was 10. That was 10. That was 10. Okay, so definitely, yeah, that that book definitely helped you to use your adversity to find purpose. So, crush that one. I think I crushed that one. Yeah. Is there anything you would like people to take away from your book? Of course. There's a lot of takeaways, because we live in a world right now where we get distracted. We get distracted so easy with everything that is pleasing to the eyes, that puts us in a headspace that take our focus away. And so a lot of us never, because we're so tuned into what's going on in the world, we never really walked into our purpose. We never really take up the assignment that was given to us to carry out. And so it's always good when you have information in your hand that you can use that help you to identify what your purpose is and walk in your purpose. Because a lot of us have this veil over our eyes right now, and we see a lot of things that are taken away from us that not supposed to be. Like we've given into brand and wearing the name brand and doing the most with the jewelry, the cars, all this stuff, and then you hear all these different stories of all these youths that are struggling, and I think it's one of the very reason crime is the way it is, why it's high as it is, because a lot of these youths, no one tend to want to help them, and look at a youth and say, hey, this kid has potential, go to school. If you don't have money, I will help you to go to school. I'll fund what that look like. I think a lot of them don't get that help, and so because their mind never got developed going to school, they turn to crime, and so definitely, I put out materials that will help an individual to think about their moves before they make those moves, and are you going to be compromised, so definitely, it's taken away. For me, the biggest thing is understanding that you do have a purpose and you are here for a reason, and that reason is served when you walk into your purpose, Okay. Do you have any old writing habits? So I got to tell you guys, I remember the first time I wrote on paper, it was on like a typewriter. Like it was, like where you type in, and then when you're done type, you get to the end, you gotta go back again with the with the whatever that thing is called, and you get to there again, and you go back. That was pretty dope. I like doing that, and I was never fast with the fingers on the keys. I was never fast with the fingers on the keys, and so like say I'm in a plot and I'm like going through the plot and I'm doing the one hand. That's a habit that I still do every now and then. Like I'll be vibing with this hand over here and I'm just doing like the one hand, like just dot, 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 like, just one finger where you like doing the slow motion. But now I'm kind of better now, I'm doing the two fingers, but I still like the one hand where I'm utilizing the 5 strings that are right here, What has been the toughest criticism you have received as an author? And what has been the best compliment? Okay, toughest criticism. I don't know if I've ever really gotten like a crazy hard criticism. I've gotten cussed out before, but that was because the person thought I was someone else. And I wouldn't sign an autograph for them, and it got weird. It was a weird situation. But yeah, I don't know if my friends don't want to hurt my. I do say though, like I did have one of my book that's out. We did put out the wrong manuscript was uploaded, and so there's a lot of typos that needed to be fixed. And I had someone that had pointed that out, but that wasn't really tough because I take criticism well. I like when people critique me on what I'm doing. And so because that's how I get better. So yeah, I haven't really it's it hasn't hit me yet. And then compliment wise, I think it has to be that one lady that talked to me about her daughter that was in a dark place, and she came to me, and I remember giving her a copy of that book, and she brought it home and gave it to her daughter, and her daughter read through that old book and used that book as a start to moving in the positive and right direction, and she did. Now she's working and she's doing great. So that was something beautiful. It's always good when you can hear from people that's saying like, hey, I got a chance to read your work and it was so powerful that I'm doing better now. So yeah, so that was beautiful. Share some advice for aspiring author. What advice would you give to your younger self? I hear that a lot, like what advice would you give to your younger self? And what I do know is that you have to go through those challenges. You have to go through whatever you created on yourself. It is presented to you to help you to grow into your better self. So, despite your mom saying, hey, don't put your hand in the fire, I mean, sometimes we're curious enough to want to still put our hands in the fire to get burned, to feel what that burn is, and so it's the same with life, what that look like, how curious we are with life and wanting to kind of know certain things for ourselves. So, the advice I would give to aspiring authors is, be your true self, be you, don't try to be someone that you're not, don't let the pressure of society put you in a space where you're trying to just please them and you're not satisfying you know. So that's what I would say on that. What is your favorite line from your book? Ooh, favorite line. I got a few favorite lines. I got a few favorite lines. But normally, like when it comes to like a few favorite lines, you want to be like, okay, let's try to pick the best book, and whatever the best book is, then you give like one of your most favorite line from that book. And if I was to like say, okay, I would probably go with my I would probably go with Escape in the Darkness. And I would probably say it wouldn't be in the first part. It would probably be in one of my lessons. If I was to pick one, I would no, you know what? It's before. Like so I actually have a few lines in there. So like one I said The past give you experience, wisdom, and perspective. So that's one. And then I said the present should bring you peace, purpose, and contentment. And then I also like where I said the future is meant to provide hope, ambition, and excitement. Let me say that again. The future is meant to provide hope, ambition, and excitement. So, yeah, I would say those are like some of my moving parts. Yeah. To date, what is your favorite or most difficult chapter you have ever written? Ooh, listen, it is in Cornell Journeyman. It is definitely in Cornell Journeyman. The plot was very difficult. The loves, well, so I have one where Cornelius, I needed to give Cornelius a wife. Like I needed to give him a wife, and I wanted to play around with, should I have him, mingle with a few concubines and then see about choosing his wife from that bunch of ladies. And then I was like, what if we just make it like a single love scene where, like he has to carry out all these different requirements of her to be able to secure hanging with her, So that was challenging, and then also my action scene in on the boat, the war boats, they were fighting and stuff like that. That as well, I want to make sure that he had challenges in the fight, but also where I'm positioning him to not get killed, and he would still look like he really, got through it because he's that skilled, So, yeah, I mean, one would ask if my nonfiction books that I write are challenging, but not necessarily, because really I'm venting, I'm rolling it out, and that's what it is. Okay, so last question. I don't even know what kind of question this is. What is your take on boyfriends? I don't even know what that is. I don't. Do they actually exist, or do they set the bar for real life men impossibly high? Huh. Yeah, I don't know what book that is. So, I can't comment on that. And I think certain moving parts is just one of those things where when you be yourself, you have fun. You have fun. Have fun. Don't take nothing too seriously. And hey, smile. That's what I would say. Smile. Um, you can't say you want real and you wearing a lot of fake. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's listening to a woman with eyelids on, lip on, butt on, wig on, saying she want a real man. That's That doesn't even make sense. Anyways, that's just my point of view. So, pretty more sure I'm in that space where I'm like, hey, it's more healthy to be real with who you are and what that look like. Because anything else, you're doing extra. So, with that being said, I want to thank you guys for tuning into the show today. We've had a few stories that was created through these questions, and I want to thank you guys that have sent that out for what that looked like. Questions to an author. And you got your boy Cornell Bunting over here that have answered those questions. Hope they met what you guys were looking to hear. And we're going to go from there. So, tap into our next week episode of Stories to Create podcast, where we'll have our next wonderful guest that will be tapping into their world and what that looked like and telling the tale. Until that time, we are out.
Well, there you have it. The host came, the guest came, and the story was created. Thank you to our sponsors, EHAS Inc., Karis Capital, and the Cornell Bunting LLC brand. Go check out the books, courses, and materials at www.cornellbunting.com. Thank you again for listening to the show. Check back again to hear another tale from another unique guest right here at EHAS Club.